So same as what I did with the tower, I'm welding like a small bit at a time, like, you know, a bit over here, a bit down there, etc., and moving it all around so that I can keep the heat out of the weld. So yeah, I'm just doing like 6 or 8 inch sections of weld, but trying to, you know, do a little bit down one end, a little bit right down the other. Essentially all that does is stop it from warping and going, well, it's going to warp, but it'll stop it from warping as much.
Does it make a difference that you've got the steel? Oh, look at the size of this thing.
It's a 1 inch
I love this
bench.
thing. But yeah, isn't that amazing? Look at that. And then you know, you've got your necessities. But does that actually take any of the heat out, or is it?
I think it does.
Because I know copper does, eh?
Yeah, copper's really good for sucking heat out.
Surely something that thick.
Aluminium's also good. Yeah, I think it does, but I just don't think it's so significant that it makes that much difference.
Right.
I was trying to do that yesterday, hoping to take a bit of heat out, but it didn't seem to make a massive difference. So,
okay.
Yeah, I don't.
So a little maybe.
A little, I don't.
I suppose, you know, having nothing would be worse, wouldn't it? But
sorry, say that again.
Having nothing underneath would be worse. But also, I wonder,
I guess, yeah.
Does it help with keeping it flat?
No, because I don't think this is flat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Damien, ready?
Oh yeah, baby.
So I've never noticed this before because I've never had to actually do this, but you see it on the back of my welder. I've got a little bottle and I've got a big bottle. The little one was full of argon, and I got it just so that I could do some alloy stuff. Long story short, I didn't. But I've just been using the argon. It's straight argon, and that big one is 90% argon, 10% oxygen. And I was curious as to what difference it would make. The little ones just run out. So all of these welds here are 100% argon, so they kind of stand up and you get a nice sort of like pattern and ripple effect. This weld just here, so this one here is 100% argon, exactly the same gap, nothing's changed except for the gas. This one here is argon and oxygen, and it's a much flatter weld. It's hotter, it's dug into the steel more, and I think I'll actually get a better looking weld with this argon oxygen mix. So that's really interesting. So you can sort of see the argon welds are really consistent, they're quite bright, but they stand up quite high. Whereas the other one, the argon oxygen obviously maybe burns a bit hotter, I'm guessing, and yeah, it dimples into the steel more. So that's quite curious. I was trying to figure out how to get the shape of this internal gap that I've got to basically make a piece of steel out and weld in there. Trying to figure out how to do that, and I was going to use cardboard or something like that, but I've got some old plastic sheet that I used when I did the temporary windows in the lounge. So I'm just going to draw the shape onto this clear polycarb, and yeah, just cut it out, and that's going to be my template. So creating a clear template worked a treat. So this is the template all cut out. It basically fitted in there. Goes in there nice. Get rid of that. So over here I've transferred it onto the steel. Right, so we're gonna cut that out now, and then we'll get that welded in. Alright, so I'm gonna go and plasma the holes for these little fittings to go into now in the wings. It's really windy, so I'm not going to take the camera up there, it's just blowing its guts out. However, so what we're going to do, so my original plan that I was going to build, the wings were going to be slightly narrower and not as long, and long story short, I had enough steel to do the original design. I had to modify it because of a couple of reasons when I was building it and so on, which often happens, and as such I don't have enough steel to finish it. So I've got enough steel to finish one side completely, so that's what I'm going to do. I do have 4 of these little fittings. I was going to do 2 on each side, but since I've got to go into town to get steel anyway, I've decided I'm going to grab another couple of these. So I'm actually going to put 3 on each side, just so it gives us a few options in the future. I can always just put a bung over it if I'm not going to use them. and then yeah, if I do want to use them, I've got something available. I don't have to do any real modifications to use it. So yeah, that's my plan for today. I'm going to get one side fully done, and then I'll sandblast and paint it. Alright, so my little bear's big fittings, going to tack them all in. They should all be the same height right now. Lovely! So you can see the three of them welded in pretty like snug. The welds almost continuous all the way around. Had to stop start a couple of times just because I couldn't reach. But then underneath, so I've basically done a double continuous on both of them, so both sides have been welded. The main reason I wanted to do this side though was actually just to get rid of any, I wanted to melt the metal, I wanted to make it nice and smooth, so if any cables and so on run through here, they're not going to go over any sharp metal. So I'm going to go through and just file these just to make sure. It's just kind of future proofing more than anything else. Okay, so I need to weld this piece of flat into my wing, I suppose you can call it. So the way that I make sure that I get it flush is I just tack on some bits of scrap that I've got. It doesn't get it perfect, and then I just use a screwdriver and just absolutely lever it so it's bang on all the way through. Doing this way I know that it's not going to fall down too far, so it's pretty easy to modify from that point on. So yeah, I'll throw this together, tack it up, and let's get this thing welded onto the main mast. There we have it, one wing tacked together. So just going to belt some welds around it. I've already V'd this side out so we can do a full weld down each seam. The other side obviously is tacked together. We'll smash those out, get a weld running down those, and then we're just going to basically trim the edges. So this end will be flat and I'll put a plate on the end of it. This end will be sort of scalloped out so it fits around the curve of the main mast. Once we've done that, I'll set my main mast up in the jig and then align all of this the way that it needs to be, and then start welding it on. Cool, looking forward to this bit. There we go, so fully welded on both sides, and we've got the three aerials in. They're not in a row, so that's awesome. Damn it, never mind. Yeah, cool. So now the next step is we need to trim these ends and then fit it to the mast, which is out on the ground over there. So we'll get into that. So this is the arm that we've built. I've got rid of the tower now, so you can see the arm is still see-through all the way through. I haven't capped the end of it off. What I want to do now is clean it all out and throw some paint on, and that's me for the night. And then in the morning I'll come back and weld all of these. I'll weld this arm to that tower, and then yeah, start getting once the tower and the arm are welded together, I can cut the end of it so that it's I know that I'm going to be working level with the tower. I thought about doing it on its own, but I thought it's probably easy to muck it up, whereas when it's on the tower it's easy to get it right. So that's my plan. So yeah, I didn't get as much done as I was hoping this weekend. I was hoping to get both arms done, but I should have that done within the next couple of days. Got to go in tomorrow and get some steel and get a few more of these 3/4 BSP fittings. Alright, so we've got our wing built. We've got our tower all sort of tacked together and mostly done. I've plasma cut out the hole on the tower, so I've plasma cut out the hole where the wing is going to be joining. So what I need to do is clean up all of this edge so that there's no, you know, round everything off, so there's no sharp edges or anything like that. And that means that any wires that pass through there, there's not going to be any chafe issues. They're just going to cruise straight through the hole. So I'm going to clean that up now, and I'll tack this wing on, and then I'm going to get started on the other wing, and we'll start mounting the two of them together. Righto, moment of truth. So I've checked it square that way. I've got that lying perfectly level, that's perfectly level. I don't know what that angle is, but it doesn't really matter because we'll just get my bevel and copy whatever that angle is to the other side. The actual number is kind of irrelevant. I think everything is done. So I've filed all of the holes on the inside, so there's no way we can have any sort of what do you call it? There's no way we can have any sort of like issues with cables and stuff chafing, because that's all like perfectly smooth and round now. I think we're good to go. Let's get this welded. Good. So she's a bit of a heavy beast. So I've got basically one weld all the way around. It's a wee bit hard to see in the light there. You can see it better in the light there. I want this to be as incredibly strong as absolutely possible, so I'm going to run another 2 beads all the way around this, one on either side of that one there, so we start to really build up that join. I want this to be, you know, pretty decent. I don't ever want to have to worry about this if we're swinging around in 70 knots. I don't want any part of this boat to come off, so yeah, that's my plan. I'm gonna weld the crap out of this now. So earlier Jess was talking about putting a gusset into this lower part of the wing here. I'm basically trying to form the same sort of thing with a weld. So obviously it's a tiny little gusset, but basically it gives you a weld that's significantly bigger than if you were to just run one bead all the way around. You'll often see this sort of thing on like really high critical areas, like anchor shanks, for example, on some of the anchors that are welded together, like Rockners and Mansons and things like that, where the shank comes down onto the blade, and it's welded around there. They'll either have one really big weld, or if it's manually welded together, like some of them are, they'll have multiple runs overlapping each other, so you get a bigger and bigger weld, if that makes sense. Basically it just means you've got more weld holding on to more steel, so you end up with a much stronger joint. So there we have it, 2 big old solid welds all the way around, and then actually go through on the bottom here. It's a wee bit hard to see in the light, you can zoom right in. On the bottom I've put 3, you can't actually see it, but I've blended the bottom one right in again, just to make it a wee bit stronger and a bit prettier actually. So that's what we're left with. Pretty happy with that. So we get started on the second wing. So all the way back. Gives you an idea of what that's looking. Where are we? Sorry. So that there is looking directly front on. So each wing is going to stick out 1.25 meters.
We'd always find somewhere to hide when we were kids, so we could see and hear the water run. The river's gonna cry when you're gone. You miss the ones you know. I'll be here